discussed with you, I will make you aware about the plagiarism law. So in this folder, I have collected all these things together, and for this, as far as this regulation is concerned, I have downloaded it from Google. Any one of you can download it from the Google, so that in leisure time you can read all the provisions those have been specified in this law. Simply in the Google search box, with double inverted comma, as I stated you earlier, you can type Plagiarism Act July 2018, and that will be displayed in front of you. So it has been given in, basically the Gazette is published in the two languages, Hindi and English. So the first part is in Hindi, that is followed by second part in English. So in the issue that has been published as part 3, section 4, which is published by Government of India, in the issue number 287, this act has been given. So I will skip this Hindi, that will be followed by act written in English. So this is the UGC notification. Now what is the title of this notification? It is called to be the University Grants Commission, into bracket, Promotion of Academic Integrity and Prevention of Plagiarism in Higher Educational Institutions, bracket complete regulations 2018. So this act or this regulation has been passed in the year 2018, and from 23rd July 2018, it has become mandatory for us that whatever that is going to be submitted by a researcher, that will be checked for its plagiarism as per this law. So in the law, there are so many parts. Preamble is there. So in that preamble, short title, application commencement, and other things have been given. So this law I have read very thoroughly, and along with this, it has been put in my own words, so that the student can easily understand. Basically, it is the work related with some of the research work that is going on by me in the university. So there are so many rules and regulations those have been related with the IPR, and which have been passed from time to time in India. So Copyright Act is there, then Trademark Act is there, Patent Act, then Geographical Indication of Goods Act, that is meant for registration and protection of that goods. The Design Act, Digital Millennium Copyright Act. So all these have been passed, and recently this act has been passed. So whether it has some resemblance with the IPR? Yes, it is. That you know that in order to maintain certain discipline in the research, and in order to follow some of the provisions made in the Act of IPR, it is necessary that you cannot borrow the material as it is from the text written by anyone else without giving the right credit to that particular author. So that may relate with violation of the acts related with this. And that's why the university regulation has been passed in the 2018, which is called the Promotion of Academic Integrity and Prevention of Plagiarism in Higher Educational Institutions. Basically, you know that higher educational institutions are there in which colleges are covered, universities are covered, research institutions are covered. So on 1st September 2017, see, the efforts have been made by the University Grants Commission, Ministry of Human Resource Development, and Government of India, via the letter number F1-18/2010 in bracket CPP-2, which is published as a public notice. So it was informing about the constitution of the Committee of Experts to work on the issue related with the plagiarism. So before commencement of the regulation, by this letter, Government of India constituted a committee of the experts, and that committee was expected to take into consideration the issues related to the plagiarism and to recommend institutional mechanism to reduce plagiarism in higher education system. So two things are there. All the issues related with the plagiarism was expected to be covered by these committee members, and along with that, the mechanism for checking of the plagiarism was also to be provided, was expected to be provided by this committee of the experts. And accordingly, this committee prepared the draft considering all these two aspects, and the feedback and comments were requested to send to the UGC before 13th September 2017. So basically, before passing out the regulation, the draft was provided to all, and the recommendations received from others, those have also been included before passing of this act. So on 6th August 2018, see, there is a difference of 10 to 11 months that University Grants Commission, by this letter, that is letter number F.1-18 of 2010. In that letter, they have stated that in its 513th meeting, which was held on 20th March 2018, it has been considered and approved this act, which was notified in the official Gazette of India on 31st July 2018. And in the same way, it is also available on the website of the UGC. So if you go to the homepage of the UGC, you will observe that the act is also there, as well as along with this act, the notification related with this is also made available on this. So this is the website, this is the source I have quoted, and accordingly, the act was published in the Gazette of India, as I have shown you earlier, under Extraordinary Part 3 section in the volume number 287, which was published on July 31, 2018. So in Marathi, this is the Marathi year, Shravan 9, 1940. It is published both in Hindi as well as English language. So those students who will find any difficulty in understanding the things, they can also refer to this Hindi version of the Act, so which consisted of 12 pages. So from page 1 to 7, it is in the Hindi language, and from page 7 to 12, it is in the English language. But for the purpose of presentation, I have considered the English language for the describing this Act. So the outline of the Act also consists of 13 clauses are there in this Act. See, now these 13 clauses I have mentioned here. The first clause is the short title, application and commencement. Second one is related with the definitions, wherein the definition of the higher education institution, the definition of plagiarism, the definition of academic integrity, and all the important terms related with the Act have been given in the definitions. So that is followed by the objectives. Then what are the duties of the HEI? HEI means higher educational institutions. Then awareness programs and trainings related with plagiarism, those have been given. Curbing plagiarism is the next clause, that is followed by the similarity checks for exclusion from plagiarism. Now this similarity checks for exclusion means whenever we are going to check the plagiarism for a particular manuscript, what is to be excluded? That is given in the Act, so that can be excluded. And then the levels of plagiarism they have explained. In all, there are 4 levels of plagiarism. I will explain it in detail. That is followed by the detection, reporting, and handling of the plagiarism. It means that if the plagiarism has been observed and detected, then how it is to be reported and how the handling of that plagiarism has to be carried out. Then a departmental academic integrity panel and institutional academic integrity panel that is to be constituted. So how it is to be constituted, that is described in the Act. So as I have stated you earlier, that this mechanism or how to implement this Act, see, the committee was expected to recommend institutional mechanism to reduce plagiarism in a higher educational system. That has been covered in these 4 points. We can consider removal of difficulty also. So detection, reporting, then it will go to departmental academic integrity panel. After that, it will go to institutional academic integrity panel. Then penalties have been given. Whatever the levels of plagiarism, those have been given there. According to these levels, the penalties have been given in the 2 categories. And finally, the removal of the difficulty has also been explained. So a detailed description about the contents and its interpretation as far as the implementation of the plagiarism in higher educational institution is concerned has been given. So I will go to the clause 1. So clause 1 is related with the short title, application and commencement. So in this section, by which the title of the regulation shall be called has been given. So whatever the title that has been given to this chapter, That is the title of the regulation, and that is mentioned in this clause number 1, that this act will be familiar or will be known as this act. Then how it can be applied, and the commencements has been considered. So along with it, to which category of persons it is associated with higher education system, with the geographical coverage has also been mentioned. Basically, this act covers all the categories of the persons who are associated with higher education system. So that consists of PG students, research students, then lecturers in all categories. So all those have been, then PhD guides and all those things are there. So the date from which the regulation shall be in force is also mentioned. I have mentioned that date to you. So the regulation is called as this one. So I am not going to repeat it again. So this is the short title or the title of the act, and it is applicable to which category? The categories are the students, faculty, researchers, and staffs of all higher educational institutions in India. Since UGC works for India, so the rules and the regulation is applicable to all the higher educational institutions in India only. And in higher education institutions, whatever the students, faculty, researchers, and staff are there, so for them it is applicable. So it come into force after 3 dates of its notification, that is 13 July 2018. Second clause is related with the definition. See, since the regulation has been passed, whatever the words those have been given in that regulation, sometimes the reader finds it very difficult to understand what actually it is. As I said earlier, that higher educational institution, then institutional academic integrity panel is there. So what actually institutional academic integrity panel is, departmental academic integrity panel is, that has been defined in this clause. So it defines, see, what are the definitions, then it defines what is academic integrity. Basically, without academic integrity, your research does not get true value for that, and it is expected that academic integrity will follow whenever you are going to carry out your research. Then who is the author? What is the definition of the author? What is the definition of the commission? Then what is the definition of the common knowledge, degree, departmental academic integrity panel, then higher educational institutions, information, institutional academic integrity panel, notification, plagiarism, program, researcher, script, source, staff, student, university, and year that have been defined in the clause 2 entitled as definition. So it is further stated that the words and expressions used in the UGC Act 1956 shall have the same meaning respectively assigned to them in UGC Act 1956. Third clause is related with the objectives. With which objective the regulation has been passed, that has been explained. So this clause has stated the objectives of the regulation, and 3 objectives have been given in this clause. See, what is the first objective? This one. First objective is related with creating awareness about following research ethics. Following means not following, but following means to put in practice the research ethics. That is the meaning of the following research ethics by all concerned with higher education, and to follow responsible conduct. It means that with the implementation of this act, awareness about how to follow the research ethics and how to follow the responsible conduct of the research in higher education has been explained. That has been considered. Now, second objective is related with establishing an institutional mechanism to achieve the first objective through proper training and education about plagiarism for promoting academic integrity. See, I said that the committee was expected to prepare an institutional mechanism about how the plagiarism checking activities shall be carried out. Here, it is expected that whenever the research article or PhD thesis is going to be checked, that is expected to be checked at the departmental level. Then whatever the expert committee which has been constituted at the departmental level, they shall provide its report to the institutional panel. Okay, and then it shall percolate in according to the provisions those have been made, or whatever the penalties those have been given for higher percentage of the similarity that is to be followed. And finally, the discussion of the action of discouraging work or event of the plagiarism is to be taken into consideration. So it is related with the discouraging work or event of plagiarism. So in case the plagiarism occurs, in that case, whatever the penalties those have been given, that if you are going to see in detail, I am quite sure that after going through all these penalties, you will try your level best to maintain the lowest level of similarity after checking the plagiarism of your PhD thesis. And finally, the third objective is related with developing a system to detect plagiarism and setting up mechanism of preventing plagiarism. Developing a system of to detect plagiarism means here comes the role of actually using the plagiarism software. And setting up mechanism means how the students shall approach to the concerned institution and how the prevention of the plagiarism or plagiarism report can be taken into consideration, in which condition he can submit the thesis, in which condition the thesis cannot be accepted, that is necessary to be taken into consideration, or that system is expected to be developed by the institution concerned. Now clause 4 is related with the duties of higher educational institution. Now in this clause, the duties of higher educational institutions which are related with the implementation of this regulation are given. It means that this regulation needs to be implemented by every higher educational institution. And what are the duties related with that? While establishing a mechanism for enhancing awareness about this responsible conduct of research and academic activities has been taken into consideration. Then to promote the academic integrity and to prevent plagiarism has been taken into consideration. Then comes awareness programs and trainings. Since many of the research students, they are not aware about what actually the plagiarism is, how that plagiarism is checked, if that is checked, how the report is to be interpreted. Suppose if a particular level of similarity is higher than the expected, then how that can be reduced to expected level. All these things are very challenging, and that's why there is a need for arranging awareness programs and training. And this act has stated the need for arranging such programs and trainings to the staff, students, researchers, so that they can easily cope up with the problem of plagiarism. So this clause includes 3 sub-clauses that relate with instructing all to carry research in tune with rules and regulations governing the source. Then conducting seminars and awareness programs about responsible conduct of research and promotion of the academic integrity and ethics in education. And further, it has also been stated in the 3rd sub-clause. This is the 3rd sub-clause that these are the things. See, there shall be compulsory coursework or module in the curricula of the undergraduate and postgraduate students, master degrees, etc., which are consist of cardinal principles of academic integrity. So if you find, you will also observe that in the syllabus which we revised few years before, we have included the chapter related with the plagiarism. So this is in the coursework. Even in your PhD coursework, this has been taken into consideration, that the students shall be made aware about this plagiarism issues. And it shall consist of cardinal principles of academic integrity. What actually the academic integrity, I will let you know. So for masters and research scholars, see, a compulsory coursework or module shall include elements related with responsible conduct of research and publication ethics. So in the first lecture, whatever I informed you about principles of research, so these principles of research are somewhat similar to, or these are called the research ethics. In the same way, there are certain publication ethics. So if those are not going to be followed by you, certainly the publication of your research articles or publication of your thesis will find difficulties. Then repression and orientation courses shall be organized for faculty and staff members of the higher educational institutions, and it shall include elements related to responsible conduct of research and publication ethics. In the university also, whatever the refresher courses, those are conducted, or orientation courses, those are conducted. Many of the institutions, almost I say almost all the institutions, they arrange for the lectures on this plagiarism so that the participants, basically the participants in this representation and orientation course are the lecturers. Those are working in the higher education institutions. So they are also trained about how to make use of these softwares. Next comes the training related with the use of the plagiarism detection tools and reference management tools shall be given to students. See, the Act considers not only plagiarism detection, but also the reference management tool. This has a resemblance with one another. See, whenever you are going to make use of or you are going to borrow the text in your research, take for example, you are going to conduct literature review. So that is the topic which is more prone to plagiarism detection, or wherein higher percentage of the similarity can be observed if the researcher is not aware about how to put it in his or her own words. So in that case, if you are going to make use of the reference management tools in a systematic way, then it will have effect on reducing the plagiarism in the way, because I said that in the software itself, there is a provision to exclude quotes and references. On the other hand, if those are going to be excluded by you, the similarity percentage will come down. So here comes the use of the reference management tools, that whenever you are going to refer to a particular source, or whenever you are going to quote that particular source, then the plagiarism detection software will help you to exclude that with the provision, and the similarity can be reduced. So that shall be given to the students, faculty, researchers and staff. This training is also very important. Next training is related with the facility of plagiarism detection with modern technology that shall be equipped. So every higher educational institution is expected to provide the facility for plagiarism detection. Now, what is the facility for plagiarism detection? Simply making available the plagiarism detection software is the facility. So many of the plagiarism detection softwares are also available free of cost on Google, but I would recommend subscribed softwares which has immense capability to detect the similarity to a greater extent. Then for registration on International Researchers Registry System, students, faculty, researchers and staff shall be encouraged. So International Researchers Registry System is there, and their registration shall be made by all the students, faculty, researcher and staff. So on the Google Scholar and other things it is available. Then clause 6 is related with the curbing plagiarism, and this clause includes 8 sub-clauses wherein the mechanism for plagiarism checking through a proper and appropriate software which will be made accessible to all using modern technology is to be provided. So that facilitates them to check various types of the documents. Even I must say you that those PhD students, now they are the students for this PhD, but they have worked for 11 months in our library. Basically, Rupali Ghoshal is there, Swanta is there. Okay, they have handled these softwares. They are well aware about these softwares, how it works, how the plagiarism. Even in this there is Authenticate, I think, yes, which is Bhavesh Patel is there. So he might be using that software. And recently, Implementer also made available Urkun software. So those colleges who wish to get access to that free of cost, they can get the username and password from the university and can make use of that. So it has been made available free of cost by the Implementer for a certain duration. In the same way, at the initial stage, the Turnitin was also provided for 1 year to all the universities by the UGC, and that too free of cost. Now it is subscribed one. So apart from this, we will consider what are the important considerations under this clause related with the curbing plagiarism. So in all the see, there are 8 points related with that. So declaring and implementing the mechanism by the higher education institutions for plagiarism checking through a proper and appropriate software to ensure that the documents are not plagiarized and those are free from plagiarism at the time of its submission. Now, these documents may include MPhil thesis, or dissertation, PhD thesis. Then publications. Publication means whatever research article you want to publish in the peer-reviewed journal, those are expected to be checked through the plagiarism. And any other such type of documents like PG dissertations. For MD by SC, there is MD dissertation, so that is also expected to be checked through the plagiarism. Then research papers are there. Whatever the books you are going to write, that shall also be considered for the plagiarism checking. And it is to be ensured that those are not going to be plagiarized and those are free from the plagiarism at the time of its submission. So one more benefit is there that it goes with, as far as publication of the research papers is concerned, along with your research paper, if you are going to submit the plagiarism report of that paper, I am quite sure that the publishing authority or the publisher considers that article to be fit for publication in their journals. So that is one more advantage that goes with that. Then the above mechanism shall be made accessible to all carrying out their research work in the higher education institutions. So this is the responsibility of the higher education institution, that such mechanism shall be made accessible to all the researchers. Then an undertaking by every student be submitted to a higher education institution that indicate preparation of the document by the student, that it is his or her original work which is free from the plagiarism. So even in the PhD thesis, before submitting it, there is a declaration. Okay, this work has been done by the research student under my guidance. Okay, it is his pure research work in that way. But now one more thing is that in our university, we have prepared 3 forms. So those forms you need to be filled up with that properly. Then in that form, after checking the plagiarism, the competent authority is going to certify that this is the percentage of your plagiarism. So if it is more than 10%, your thesis will not be accepted for the submission. Okay, if it is more than 60%, your PhD is liable for cancellation. So all these things we will consider. Then an undertaking by every student, it shall be submitted to higher education institution that indicate the preparation of the document by the student, and that it is his or her original work which is free from the plagiarism. So that undertaking shall be given. Then the undertaking shall also include the fact that plagiarism detection tool approved by the concerned higher educational institution is used for plagiarism detection. See, if our university is making use of the Authenticate, then your PhD thesis is going to be checked by Authenticate only. Because as far as the software changes, the similarity index is also going to change. There is some reason behind that. See, if a particular document is going to be checked by you in the Authenticate, it will show different similarity. If it is going to be checked under the Urkund, it will show different similarity. Similarity is observed if it is checked through Authenticate or Turnitin, because these are the 2 products of the one company. So there is not much variation related with that. If you are going to check it through any online free plagiarism detection software, then the similarity will still be more reduced. But when it will be checked by the software like Authenticate, it will be more. So every higher education institution shall provide this plagiarism detection tool in the institution. Then plagiarism policy also needs to be developed by every higher education institution. Yes, we have our plagiarism policy, and that should be approved by relevant statutory bodies or authorities. Generally, in the university, the statutory body is the management council or academic council. From academic council, it can go to the management council, and such approved policy be hosted on the homepage of the website of concerned higher educational institution. So that is to be done. That only policy preparation is not only expected, so that policy shall also be hosted on the homepage so that anyone can have access to that policy. Then the work done by the researcher under the supervision shall be certified as plagiarism free by the supervisor, and that shall be submitted. See, guide is also expected to take care of whatever that you have submitted, because ultimately it is his responsibility as he is supervising your work. So in tune with your guide, whatever you are going to write in your thesis, whatever the theme you are going to develop, whatever models you are going to develop, that should be your own contribution. So soft copies of this completed and duly checked master's or research program, dissertation or thesis shall be provided by a higher educational institution to INFIBNet for its hosting in the digital repository known as Shodhganga e-repository. See, many of the universities have hosted their PhD thesis on this Shodhganga e-repository. Being the library professionals, you know how to access to that. But when it is going to be checked by you, then the checked thesis needs to be hosted on the Shodhganga e-repository by that particular higher educational institution. Even whatever the major or minor research projects that the lecturers are going to complete, that is also expected to be hosted by the concerned college or the institution on their homepage. So it has made mandatory by the UGC. Then comes the higher educational institution or their institutional website shall also host dissertations, theses, research papers, publications, and other in-house publications through creation of the institutional repository. See, on Shodhganga, only PhD theses are uploaded, but whatever the MPhil thesis, other PG theses are there, then research papers and publications which are published at the departmental level, that are also expected to be hosted on the institutional repository of the concerned higher education institution. So it is as a clause in this act, it is mandatory. Then comes clause number 7, which is related with the similarity checks for exclusion. Now you might be happy and eager to know what is going to be excluded. No doubt, it is an advantage for you, but for exclusion, it is not excluded as it is. See, whatever the categories those have been given here, you have to take into consideration. So in this clause, the things that shall be excluded for similarity checks before plagiarism detection are given. Now these three things are this one. First one is the work included in the document that is quoted with all necessary permissions and or attributions. See, quoted with all necessary permissions means if the document is copyrighted, you have to get the permission from the author. If it is a patent, you have to get the permission from the patent owner. Okay, and you have to give the attribution. Attribution means whenever you are going to code, here comes the role of the reference management tools. That you have to give the reference, whatever the style manual you are going to adopt, according to that you have to give right weightage to the author of that particular original work. So that is to be quoted. And if you are going to quote it with the permission and attribution, then that quoted work can be excluded from the plagiarism. Okay. Then comes all references, bibliography, table of contents, preface and acknowledgement. See, table of content is not a plagiarism because whatever you have written, you are going to prepare the index of that. Preface and acknowledgements, you can give acknowledgement to anyone else, or preface is also there. Then comes references and bibliography. See, references are meant for the quotes that you have used in your thesis, and bibliography is nothing but a list of all the references you have given at the end of the paper. It may be a select bibliography or any type of bibliography. So that can be excluded from the plagiarism. Then comes all generic terms, laws, standard symbols and standard equations. See, in the subject like pure sciences, there are certain generic terms which are expected to be used as it is by every researcher. So suppose if a particular researcher has used a particular concept or term which is generic, the another person is going to use the as it is because that is universally accepted term in that particular subject field. Okay, in the same way, the laws are there. Laws is meant for everyone, and it is to be taken into consideration as it is. Then there are certain standard symbols and standard equations. Basically, standard equations are there in the mathematics, standard symbols are there in the pure sciences. So those are going to be repeatedly used by the researchers. So that can be excluded. And further a note is given under this clause, and this is that the work shall contain original ideas by the researcher, which shall include your abstract should be original, okay? Your summary must be original. Your hypothesis must be original. Observations, results, conclusions, and recommendations all is expected to be original. Original means that should come out as an output of your work. Okay. Another thing is that, see, up to 14 consecutive words, 1-4. Okay. Common knowledge or coincidental terms shall also be excluded. See, what are the coincidental terms or what is common knowledge? That needs to be taken into consideration. Basically, coincidental terms is the terms which are used normally by all the researchers. Take for example, in our library science, we make use of in an age of information explosion, okay, in an age of digital environment, in the modern world of information and communication technology. So these are the words which are coincidental terms. So that can also be excluded. But I think there is not a special provision in the software that these coincidental terms can be excluded on each of the page. So you have to be really aware that whenever you are going to write in your thesis or chapters in your thesis, you must write it in your own words, and as far as possible, the commonly used terms and phrases you must avoid. Okay, so that will help you that certain words will not come under the purview of this plagiarism. Then comes level of the plagiarism. These are very important. Now concentrate on this. That 4 levels of the similarity of the text have been specified. So it relates with the quantification of plagiarism, which is represented by these levels in the ascending order of severity of the plagiarism. Ascending order of severity means as we go from level 0 to 1, severity is more. From level 1 to 2, severity is still more. Okay. So in that way it has been given. And the clause number 12 has been entitled as penalties, which is associated with this clause. So based on these levels, the penalties which have been given in the clause 12 are going to be considered. So because the penalty be imposed is based on these levels of the similarity, we have to take into consideration clause number 12 and clause number 8 with some relevance with one another. So this similarity which represents the severity of the plagiarism. Now these levels are, the first level is level 0. So every researcher is expected to attain this level because it considers similarities up to 10%. So which is considered as minor similarity without any penalties. There is no penalty, and it means that if the similarity of your text after plagiarism checking will come as 10 or below 10%, your thesis is going to be accepted. Suppose it shows 11% similarity, then you will be shifted to level 1. So this level 1 considers similarity about 10 and up to similarity above 10% and up to 40%. See what is the range. 30% range is there, 10 to 40. If you go to the higher level of similarity, you will be in a more difficult position, because in that case, if the similarity is going to be higher, then whatever the words that shows the similarity, you need to rectify those. You need to again redevelop that theory, excluding that theory which shows similarity. So these are the things. So this is the level 1 for which there is a penalty. Then comes level 2. So if your plagiarism similarity of the text is above 40% and up to 60%, so here see there is a difference of 20%. Okay, 40 to 60. So this is level 2. So it is also very, as you go on to the higher level, you are going to be in a position which is some troublesome situation for you. So in that case, your work of revising your thesis will be more. Okay, and level 4 is the dangerous level, and that if your similarity of your thesis comes above 60%, then what is the penalty? I am going to inform you. So basically from this levels it is observed that 10% similarity is considered as a minor only, and there is no penalty for that. So every research article you are going to publish, every PG dissertation you are going to submit, every PhD thesis you are going to submit, that shall achieve this level 0. That it means that after checking the plagiarism, the similarity shall be below 10%. Okay, then comes clause number 9, which is related with the detection, reporting, and handling of the plagiarism. So in this mechanism has been provided that there shall be departmental academic integrity panel. So this mechanism is not there, but at the departmental level, academic integrity panel shall be formed, and also at the institutional level also, academic integrity panel shall be there. It means that suppose if it is a university and there are 30 departments, it means that there shall be 30 departmental academic integrity panels. In each of the departmental academic integrity panel shall be there. And at the institutional level, it means at university level, the institutional academic integrity panel shall be there. So because it is suggested that if in any of the document, if the case of plagiarism is found by any member of the academic community with appropriate proof, then it shall be reported to departmental academic integrity panel. Then what happens? The departmental academic integrity panel, upon receipt of the complaint or allegation, shall submit its recommendation to the institutional academic integrity panel. See, the researcher's work is going to be reported by any member to the DAIP, that is Departmental Academic Integrity Panel, and the Departmental Academic Integrity Panel, after considering or after receiving the complaint or any allegation related with the work, along with the recommendation, the committee will recommend something that shall be provided to the institutional academic integrity panel. So it is further mentioned that the authorities of the higher education institutions can take notice of an act of plagiarism and initiate the proceedings under this regulation. So the findings of an examiner shall form the basis on which HEI can also initiate the proceedings. So we will consider what actually the DAIP. Basically, as far as this DAIP is considered, we have to take into consideration how it is to be formed. So this clause describes the composition of a DAIP along with principles of natural justice. They shall follow. So what are the powers of the DAIP to access plagiarism, and submitting its report to institutional academic integrity panel. So it is mentioned that all the departments shall notify its composition, and that composition is like that, which shall consist of head of the department as chairman. In each of the department, there is the head of the department, and that head of the department shall be the chairman of the departmental academic integrity panel. There shall also be one senior academician from outside of the department. One senior academician from that particular subject field outside the department, who will be nominated by the head of the higher education institution, should be there. So this authority has been given to the head, that he can nominate any senior academician from the outside as a member of this committee, and one member as plagiarism expert nominated by the HOD. So this person shall have plagiarism expertise to become a member of this committee at the departmental level, and that's why it has been given in the clause that there shall be training programs, workshop, and seminars shall be arranged, which shall provide information about plagiarism, how it works, and how it can be interpreted, just like that. So he shall be well versed in the plagiarism tools. So the tenure of this senior academician from outside the department nominated by the head, and one of member of the plagiarism expert nominated by the head, shall be of 2 years. So for consecutive 2 years, they can remain in that particular committee, and out of the 3 members, 2 members inclusive of the chairman shall be the quorum for the meeting. Suppose a meeting of this academic integrity panel at departmental level needs to be conducted, chairman shall be there, but either the plagiarism expert or senior academician from that committee shall be present. So at least 2 persons shall be the quorum for this. So the principle of natural justice be followed by the DAIP about accusation of the plagiarism against any student. So this committee shall have the power to access level of plagiarism and recommend the penalty. Now, if the committee will find any plagiarism, they have to determine what is the level of plagiarism, and then they have to recommend the penalty, and that shall be recommended to institutional academic integrity panel. Okay. So in the same way, from the date of receipt of any complaint or initiation of the proceedings, within 45 days, the DAIP shall investigate the matter, and after an investigation shall submit its report with the recommendation on penalties to be imposed. It means that if a particular student had checked his thesis and whatever the similarity that is observed, that is to be communicated to the academic integrity panel at institutional level within 45 days, not more than that. Then what is the role of institutional academic integrity panel that we have to take into consideration? So it will receive the recommendations and report from the departmental academic integrity panel. Then they will submit its copy of the report to the person against whom inquiry report is to be submitted. So in that case, institutional academic integrity panel is to be formed, which shall consist of one chairman who may be pro vice chancellor, dean, or academician of the higher educational institution. See, basically for this committee, the chairman shall be pro vice chancellor or the dean. As per the new law, it is expected that there shall be dean for various faculties, or senior academicians of the higher education system can be a member of this committee. Then a senior academician other than the chairman shall be there, and the nomination will go to head of the higher education institution. Now, in case of university, the head of the higher education institution is vice chancellor. In case of college, it is principal, and one member nominated by the head of the higher educational institution from outside the higher educational institution shall be there, and one member as plagiarism expert. The 4 are there total, and they should ensure that the chairman of DIP can't be chairman of IIP and vice versa. It means that if a particular head of the department is the chairman of that institutional departmental academic integrity panel, he cannot become a chairman of the institutional academic integrity panel, or vice versa. Vice versa means the chairman of the institutional academic integrity panel cannot become the chairman of the departmental academic integrity panel. So the tenure of the committee shall be 3 years. For departmental level, it is 2 years, but for institutional level, it is 3 years. And out of 4, 3 members should be the quorum for the meeting. It means that without having presence of minimum 3 members, we cannot carry out the meeting at this level. So it is further mentioned that the recommendations made by the DAIP shall be considered by the institutional academic integrity panel. Then principle of natural justice be followed. Then it shall have power to review the recommendations made by the departmental academic integrity panel. And from the date of the recommendation from the DAIP, again there is a period of the 45 days, that within 45 days they shall report with the recommendation on penalties to be imposed to the head of the IIP. So in reverse, they will provide it to the information to the institutional academic integrity panel. So this is the mechanism they have provided. Now comes the penalties. Now this clause contains 2 subclauses. Now 2 subclauses means penalties are given for 2 types. First one is related with the for thesis and dissertations. See, this is the outcome of the MPhil or PhD, and second is for academic and research publications. So it has been considered in this way. And again, within these 2 types of materials you are going to submit, 4 levels have been considered. Okay, 4th level is common in both the cases, that if it goes beyond the 60%, it is to be the registration shall be cancelled. So that is the provision only. So there is no excuse. So at the time of submission, you have to take proper care that at the first time, after doing your research for 5 years, you are going to submit your thesis for the plagiarism checking, and at the first attempt, it comes as 61% or 60%, 61%. Then at that particular moment, your PhD registration will be cancelled. So make sure you do not have to go beyond that. Okay, so don't rely on copy-paste approach. Now see, for thesis and dissertations, if it is 10%, then it is accepted. If 10% or below that similarity is there, your thesis will be submitted to the university. Then if the similarity is above 10% but up to 4%, 40%, then the concerned student has to revise the script within the duration of 6 months. So within 6 months, we have to reduce that plagiarism. It means that your submission of the PhD thesis will be delayed for the next 6 months. You cannot submit before 6 months. So those 6 months are there, which will increase in the duration of declaration of your PhD in case the similarity is above 10%. C. And you have to resubmit the revised script. Again, the revised script is going to be checked for the plagiarism. Then level 2 is 40 to 60%. Here, the researcher has to revise the script within the duration of 1 year. See, 1 year will be given to you to revise your thesis, the similarity of which comes under 40 to 60%, and he shall be debarred from submitting a revised script for a period of 1 year. Within a year, it will not be accepted. It means that you have to resubmit the revised script after a year, which shall have similarity below 10% after checking the revised script. So it means that after submitting the thesis after a year, then whatever the newly revised thesis or dissertation is there, that shall also come below 10%. Only then it will be accepted. And at level 3, it is given that if it is above 60%, your registration is going to be cancelled. Now this paragraph is very important. Consider repeated plagiarism is there. Repeated plagiarism means, suppose if you are in this stage 10 to 40% and you have revised the script, okay, and you have submitted. Now again, if your similarity was 30% and it has come to 20%, okay, it means that 10% similarity has been reduced, but still you are at the level of 1. Okay, again within 6 months, you have to revise it and you have to resubmit it. But see what is there in the act. It is liable for punishment of the plagiarism of 1 level higher to previous level committed by the student. What does the meaning of this sentence? It means that if at this level, if your plagiarism is 30%, you have revised it, you have submitted it, and again the plagiarism comes as 20%, it means that now your plagiarism will be considered as 40 to 60%. This is what the meaning of this sentence. So it is to be taken into consideration very seriously. See? Further, if the plagiarism is proved on date after the award of the degree of credit, then his or her degree or credit shall be put in abeyance for a period recommended by the IAIP and approved by the head of the institution. It means that if you have submitted a thesis, if it has been declared PhD, and after some time it is observed that there is a plagiarism which is coming under any of this stage, then this committee, Institutional Academic Integrity Panel, has the powers to put your case in the abeyance for a period recommended by that committee, and that shall be approved by the head of the institution. Then comes how the 4 levels are considered for academic and research publications. So from 0 to 10%, I will skip. You know better now that if the similarity is below 10%, it is going to be accepted. But for Research publications, if it is 10 to 4%, the researcher has to withdraw the manuscript. Withdraw the manuscript means you cannot send it for publication. You have to get it back. If similarity is 40 to 60%, then the researcher has to withdraw the manuscripts and shall be denied a right to 1 annual increment. बघा, तुम्ही तयार केलेलं रिसर्च आर्टिकल जर एखाद्या ठिकाणी सबमिट केलं आणि त्याच्यामध्ये जर 40 ते 60% या दरम्यान सिमिलॅरिटी जर आढळली तर तुमची त्या 1 वर्षानंतर आपल्याला जी इन्क्रीमेंट मिळते, बेसिकली दोज हू आर वर्किंग ॲज द वर्किंग लायब्ररियन्स इन एनी स्केल at any AGP 7, 8, 9, so that 1 annual increment is denied, and he or she shall not allowed to be a supervisor to any master, MPhil, PhD student or scholar for a period of 2 years. तिथून पुढे त्या शिक्षकाला किंवा लायब्ररीयनला एमफिलचा किंवा PhD करता किंवा मास्टर डिग्री करता कुणाचं गाईड म्हणून 2 वर्ष काम करता येणार नाही. So this is the penalty. See, if it is above 60%, then what happens? 2 successive annual increments are denied, and supervisor's period not allowed is extended by 1 or more year, 3 years in total. या अगोदरचा 1 वर्ष, हे 2 वर्ष, आणखी पुन्हा 1 वर्ष, असं 3 वर्ष त्यांना PhDचं गाईड होता येणार नाही, MPhilचं गाईड होता येणार नाही, इव्हन PG डिझर्टेशन जे असतात MPhilचे वगैरे त्याची सुद्धा सुपरवायझर म्हणून त्यांना काम करता येणार नाही. सो इन केस ऑफ रिपीटेड प्लॅजरिझम व्हॉट हॅपन्स? इट इज रिलेटेड विथ विड्रॉल ऑफ मॅन्युस्क्रिप्ट अँड इट इज लायबल फॉर पनिशमेंट फॉर द प्लॅजरिझम ऑफ 1 हायर लेवल टू प्रिव्हियस लोअर लेवल कमिटेड बाय द स्टुडंट. सो विल सी व्हॉट नेक्स्ट. So in line with these regulations, a suitable action can be taken by the controlling authority. Again, it is mentioned that if the complaint is against head of the department or authority at the institutional level, a suitable action can be recommended by the IAIP and approved by competent authority, etc. Then comes removal of the difficulty. Now, this clause mentions that by consulting with the Government of India or Ministry of Human Resource Development, UGC reserves the right to remove difficulty or difficulties in the course of implementation of these regulations. It means that whatever the provisions those have been made in the regulation over a period of time, if there is any difficulty that needs to be removed or that difficulty comes in the implementation of the regulation, this clause gives the freedom to UGC or Human Resource Development of UGC, so that by consulting with the Government of India, they can make the changes in the regulation. So this is about the overview of this act, and I think it is very important for you to consider it. Everyone shall download this act, read it carefully, and whenever you are going to write, try your level best about without going through this mechanism of penalties related with similarity checking, how you can keep the level of similarity of your text below 10%, so that in regular way you can achieve your goal of getting PhD. So there is one concept related with academic integrity. So the definition of the academic integrity has been given in the act as, this is the definition. See, it is the intellectual honesty in proposing, performing, and putting any activity which leads to the creation of the intellectual property. So it describes all the activities leading to the creation of intellectual property, as also to take into consideration the laws related with the IPR and also authentication of the original academic writings and research that needs to be taken into consideration. And that's why academic integrity be followed. As far as academic integrity is followed, you must be aware about knowing what constitutes plagiarism and what not. So in the second half, I'm going to tell you what constitutes plagiarism and what not. Then educating the beginner is very important. Beginner means those who are not having any idea about how to carry out the research. Those should be educated about how to write a research paper, how to develop the theme, how to write the research thesis in that way. Then teaching to write very neatly. That is also to be taught to him. Teaching citation skills is very important. Understanding the citation sources, then writing style, and all these things are inclusive in the process of academic integrity. So with this, as I stated you earlier, that in the first half, I will let you know about the introduction of the Act. It is over.